Hello, my name is Omar Abasad. It is 5:19 p.m., October 30th, 2020. So I'm going to show you the traction beam that is on my chest and my back. I just went to run an errand, walking, and I was also in a Chinese store. And in the Chinese store, what I'm experiencing in this building was I experienced it stronger, about 5 times stronger. So the traction beam is from here to right through the breastbone, the middle of the back, the shoulders, and the upper arms, both arms. So I'm going to show you and it's turned off right now. It's not interesting. Oh, here we go. So I came in and there were people shouting outside the window. There's a woman who has the account and shouting about, she shouted Ranty's name actually, or Ranty, and Rick. And they rescued me. And the Portuguese are the managers. So this is the traction beam. So from about here, you see the strength of the signal there and there? So it's stronger here. So I also had black men following me around. I noticed it because normally you only saw a few black people normally around. But when half the people around you are black, then something's going on. So you know the manager is black. So see the back of the neck? See how bright that light is? There. The ear. The face, which is swollen. My eyes, which is burning. So if I swear inside of my home, it's because my skin is burning, my back is killing me, and I mean, like, it feels like a massive cramps, like somebody would get a cramp in the legs when the blood is not flowing, that kind of pain, but only the back of the neck. And what's interesting is when it happens in a location and you move away from the location, the pain goes away. So it's a traction beam that's aimed at a certain location, at you in that location. And once you move away, the computer that is aiming the beam has to reprogram, it has to reset. So it's following you. So then it'll take a few seconds to reset, to focus in on you again. So when you move, the effect goes away temporarily until it sets back on you. So yeah, so this is what it looks like right now on my chest, the back. The temperature. Oh, the battery is low. Okay, so I took my blood pressure and it's 135/99. 94 heart rate. So I'm going to take the oximeter reading. And here is the reading there. So 98 saturation. Oh, and it blanked out of me there. Just got a blank number. The PI is 5.2 and 97 pulse. And when it blanked, it went down to 96. So one of the reasons why I verbalize my feelings is because to prevent a heart attack, because I am constantly being triggered and stalked and harassed because there is monitoring, quote unquote, which is really a cover for trafficking and remote rape using these signals. So you see the heart rate went up to 101. So when I verbalize, it's a calming process. It's not meant for anybody to hear. So the heart rate went down to 96, and the PI is 7.1. So I'm in pain, like right across here, all of this, the back of the neck, between the shoulder blade, the elbows, the back of the arm, and it's swollen as well, because it's being pulsed. These spots on the body are being pulsed at regular interval. So if you look at these numbers, see the EF number there? And you see how the numbers are being pulsed? See that huge number there? That's how much electricity there is in the body. Because like I said, I'm being held in a traction beam, constantly being pulsed with electricity. So you could well imagine what that does to how effective that is to incite anger. So if you didn't have a lot of self-control, public self-control outside, I wait until I'm in a safe space in my home to vent. But could you imagine somebody on the outside who don't have the self-control or the ability to withstand the pain that these signals cause, how they would react? A child, for instance. So again, so here is the numbers. So the Portuguese team, I heard, has the account. The worker, I heard Carlos's name. I heard the Black people, Rick, who got the account from the Portuguese team. I heard that Carlos subcontracted to somebody named Rui, and Rui subcontracted to Ricardo, and Ricardo then gave it to Rick. And Rick and Ronti, they had all the part of the Black team. So keep in mind that what is going on here, and this has nothing to do with racism. It just happens to be in a Chinese area, and the virus just happens to be from China. And there's a lot of anti-Chinese sentiment because in a lot of instances, the Chinese are using predatory tactics to take over governments and infiltrate them. Well, it's exactly the same tactics that's being used in this building. So what is happening to me, because the Chinese is one of several parties in a team of people, global team, that is bringing in the technocracy that I read about yesterday in Dr. Marcola's article. This technocracy is meant to hook you onto a computer 24/7, monitor your body, monitor your mind, your brain waves, and to manipulate it remotely. And this is exactly what these signals are all about. So what I'm tweeting about and what I am experiencing, and trafficking is just one aspect of this technocracy. If you read Brave New World, it gives you a good idea of where it's going. People are common, women and men, but women are common. So anybody could access women. Child, adult, teenager, women are common, they're degraded. The entire society is degraded. Men and women are degraded. But part of that degradation in an escalating scale, women are lesser than men. Men are degraded as well. But women in that hierarchy are lesser than men. So men get to degrade women. So they're accessed and made common. So this is what is going on right now. I am globally monitored, globally accessed. So I heard from the harassing comments in this building by the worker and Gord, who made it global. It started being global with Gord. And Gord, and who was the building superintendent at the time, flagged me with the cops right after 9/11. Maybe he lied and said he thinks I'm a terrorist because I'm brown skinned. So that flag was escalated and piggybacked on. So now it's absoluted to the point where it's absoluted that I'm this big criminal, and I was a prostitute. I am a prostitute, none of which is true. There was drugs, there is stealing, there is loitering, there is stalking, there is who knows what else. I have never seen the report. The cops, of course, are taking part in this. So this is an experiment to death, just as COVID-19, under the cover of COVID-19, and the cover that's being used in my case is the flag. It's a false flag operation. A false flag operation. I'm falsely flagged, and all of these experiments are being carried out. This red alert system is being carried out. So just exactly the same template that's being used by the Chinese, who's infiltrated other groups and are using other groups to do the same, subcontractors. Under COVID-19, which is a cover, exactly the same template is being used on everybody in the world. Just like people are being killed off, and I am being killed off. I've been fighting this for consciously. I've been fighting it unconsciously since I came to Canada, because that's when I was enrolled in the program. I was made conscious of it in this building because then I became stalked openly. It's I lost my train of thought. What was my point? Okay, so I'm sure it'll come to me. The template that's being used in this building is the same that is being used on a global scale. Oh yes, here's the thought. So I was saying that people are being killed off. I'm being killed off. The old people under COVID-19 were killed off. That was murder, and it still is going on. It's murder, out and out murder, because people are openly talking about getting rid of useless eaters. Well, old people are useless eaters. They're not producing anymore. You have to spend money to look after them. They're taking up resources that could be used elsewhere by the elite. So kill them off. Well, that's exactly what's going on right now. The old people are useless eaters. So once the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s are disposed, then they're going to start with the 70s, 60s, 50s. And the idea is to get rid of the parents, get rid of the adults, and then use the kids to start integrating them into the system, into this technocratic system. And what they're going to do is bamboozle the kids, just like they're bamboozling us under COVID-19. They're going to bamboozle the kids into believing that if you get the Neuralink, for instance, Musk, if you get the Neuralink, you're going to be very powerful and you're going to have all this, superhuman strength, and you can do all of these things, and you don't have to go to school. You're just going to put a chip in your head, and life is going to be dandy, and you're going to have all the sex that you want, and you're going to have all the men or women that you want, and you're going to have the biggest cars and the fastest cars, and you're going to go to space. but you're not going to be a human being. They're not going to tell you that. I'm saying that. All the humanity will be taken away from you. Read A Brave New World. You'll get my idea. You'll get where I'm going with it. So what I am talking about in this building, 25 Bamberg Circle in Toronto, is meant for everyone. The people who are working with the Chinese government, PK said he's working for the highest of the high. He meant the Chinese government. The people who are working with PK are working with the Chinese government to use the Canadians as guinea pigs, just like they're using the entire world as guinea pigs under COVID-19. I think this is a Chinese takeover with the elite group that they are part of, this small group. But the Chinese wants to be leaders. They want to be the manager. They want to have the power to make a decision, the final decision. I think this is all of it. So what is happening to me is going to happen to everybody. Anybody who is bold enough to question is going to be killed off. And directed energy weapons are going to be used against you, is being used against you. COVID-19 is a cover to use directed energy weapons to activate viruses on your body that's already there for you to test positive for a virus called COVID-19. Nobody really knows what COVID-19 virus is. There are all kinds of theories and there are all kinds of articles about what they think it is. They don't know much about the virus itself. We're still learning, according to Theresa Tam. They don't know everything. They're still learning about it. But what exactly is the virus when you're testing it? What is it? If you don't know much about the virus, how do you come up with a test that will tell you that you're positive for the virus if you don't know what the virus is? Bamboozle it. Bamboozle it. So am I anti-Chinese? Absolutely not. Not every Chinese in the world is taking part in this. And let me tell you, not every Chinese in the world is taking part in this. We tend to paint, an entire race by the actions of some in the race. We should not be making that mistake. There are Chinese who are victims of this, obviously. Like the Chinese people in China are being taken advantage of. They're being used as guinea pigs by their government. They're kicked around, they're abused, they're killed, they're experimented with. See what they did with the citizens in Wuhan. They sprayed them like bugs. Nail shut their doors so they don't break curfew and the COVID-19 restrictions. They treat the people like animals, the government. This doesn't make the people animals, they're not. And mostly it's the people who don't have power or are unable to speak out suffer the most. There's a lot of Chinese who don't believe what's going on and do not take part in it. But there's a lot of money-hungry, power-hungry, elitist Chinese who will take part in it and will take advantage of what's going on right now. Like PK. The people who are working with PK in this building are working with the Chinese government to experiment on us and spray us just like bugs with all sorts of poisons and all sorts of things. Traffic us, access us as we sleep, read our brainwave patterns, covertly chip us, and use anything to experiment on us. The question is, why is the government allowing it to happen? Why is it being allowed to go on? Okay, so I'm going to take my blood pressure one more time, and I have an article I want to read. And it touches on the points I just talked about. So here is the blood pressure, 135/83, 78 heart rate. It went down a bit, but talking helps, definitely. So I use venting, and it helps. So there is an article here that I got this morning. So my eyes and face are being hit, and you can see the difference in my face. It's and I'm gonna wait until the garbage truck goes away. So the article that I'm going to read is and because my face and mouth is being pulsed, it gets dry really, really quickly, by Dr. Mercola. And the article is titled Fauci's Treacherous Ties to China and Globalists. And there's a military connection to this whole thing. Definitely there's a military connection to what's going on in this building, myself being the target. And I'm sure there are other targets as well. So story at a glance. So the bullet points here. A report by Dr. Peter Breggin reveals Dr. Anthony Fauci's ties to the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, and globalists who have profited from the pandemic measures promoted by him as the leader of the US coronavirus task force. Fauci has been the major force behind research activities that enabled the Chinese Communist Party to manufacture lethal SARS coronaviruses, which in turn led to the release, whether accidental or not, of SARS-CoV-2 from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. In collaboration with the CPP and the World Health Organization, Fauci initially suppressed the truth. Fauci initially suppressed the truth about the origins and dangers of the pandemic, thereby enabling the spread of the virus from China to the rest of the world. Fauci has supported and praised Director General. Sorry, my eyes are being hit, and my ears are being hit, and it's very distracting. Yeah, see the eyes? On and off basis. Fauci has supported and praised Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom, and I could never pronounce his last name, Ghebreyesus, like the rhesus monkey, rhesus, a member of the Marxist-Leninist Ethiopian political party. So he was a member of the Marxist-Leninist Ethiopian political party with a corrupt past and terrorist ties, who has also been accused of covering up cholera outbreaks in Ethiopia. And he's the World Health Organization leader. Corruption to the very top. Fauci recently published a paper in which he dismisses the possibility that SARS-CoV-2 was created and released from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, arguing instead of a natural mutation. He also uses the pandemic to justify the Green New Deal and the globalist movement known as the Great Reset. So So I just swallowed, and my throat was hit. So as I swallowed, um, I got a sudden pain. So my body is being held on a computer that's being accessed right now, judging from the knocks, the synchronized knocks in the loading dock by the worker in the one of the persons in the loading dock. So my image is on this computer screen, and the technology is within the reach, within the reach of the target, which is me. So these beams are hitting the body, I should say, various parts of the body that's pre-programmed, and it's an algorithm that's being used to rotate the points. So at different intervals, different power, in different readings, and at different intervals. So the spots will be hit repetitively, but at different time intervals. And also, there is another program that follows your movement. So if there's a movement in your throat gets hit. If your finger moves, your finger gets hit. All completely automated. It has to be an automated system that's doing this. Just to continue reading here, Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, since 1984, this year rose to national prominence as the leader of the White House coronavirus task force. And my chest is being hit, and I'm getting reflux. By the time everything is said and done, he may end up wishing he'd gained less public exposure. In the October 19, 2020 report, Dr. Fauci's COVID-19 treachery, Dr. Peter Breggin reveals Fauci's chilling ties to the Chinese Communist Party, the CPP, and its military. A second legal report by Breggin titled COVID-19 and Public Health Totalitarianism, Untoward effects on individuals, institutions, and society, was filed in a federal court in Ohio, August 31st, 2020, as part of a lawsuit and injunction to put an end to the state's pandemic measures. According to Breggin, Fauci has been the major force behind research activities that enable the CCP to manufacture lethal SARS coronaviruses, which in turn led to the release, whether accidental or not, of the SARS-CoV-2 from the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China. Breggin claims Fauci has helped the CCP obtain valuable US patents, and that he, in collaboration with the CCP and the World Health Organization, initially suppressed the truth about the origins and dangers of the pandemic, thereby enabling the spread of the virus from China to the rest of the world. Fauci has and continues to shield the CPP and himself, Breggin says, by denying the origin of SARS-CoV-2 and delaying and thwarting worldwide attempts to deal rationally with the pandemic. So he goes on to talk about the actual experiments and the development of the virus. So gain-of-function research supported by Fauci, and this is how it all came about. In the executive summary of the report, Breggin documents 15 questionable activities that Fauci has been engaged in, starting with the fact that he funded dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses, both by individual Chinese researchers and the Wuhan Institute for Virology, which is WIV in short, in collaboration with the American researchers. This research, Breggin said, allowed the CCP and its military to create new bioweapons, including SARS-CoV-2. He points out that the American-Chinese collaboration was initially detailed in a paper written by 2 Chinese researchers. Okay, so I'm not going to go into detail. You can read that. And he talks about the research itself, and how it was done. So skipping quite a bit ahead here. And there's a quote here. Fauci holds himself out as the ultimate source of objective scientific information. In reality, he works with and empowers globalist pharmaceutical firms and globalist organizations. These globalists gain power and influence as their policies and practices, including the shutdowns, continue to worsen conditions throughout the world. Dr. Peter Breggin. So let me repeat that. Fauci holds himself as the ultimate source of objective scientific information and science-based conclusion. So that is really dumb because no one man has that authority or information or ability or insight. Seeing that science is an ongoing accumulation of information and it's ever changing. In reality, he works with and empowers globalist pharmaceutical firms and globalist organizations. These globalists gain power and influence as their policies and practices, including the shutdowns, continue to worsen conditions throughout the world. Fauci also defended and promoted gain-of-function research in bird flu viruses a decade ago, saying such research was worth the risk because it allows scientists to prepare for pandemics. However, as noted by Breggin, this kind of research does not appear to have improved government's pandemic responses one whit. So skipping ahead here, incidentally, Tedros has also been accused of covering up cholera outbreaks in Ethiopia. So together, they initially minimized the dangers of COVID-19. Fauci and Tedros also delayed worldwide preparation for the pandemic while allowing the Chinese to spread the virus with thousands of international passenger flights, Breggin writes, adding, Fauci publicly undermined the president's criticism of Director General Tedros and China. Instead, Fauci reassured the world that Tedros was a trustworthy and outstanding man, implying that Tedros's connections in China were similarly reliable and could be trusted. Fauci's globalist ties. Interestingly, Fauci recently published a paper in which he again dismisses the possibility that SARS-CoV-2 was created in and released from WIV, that's the Wuhan Institute of Virology, arguing instead for a natural mutation. By persistently and unequivocally claiming that SARS-CoV-2 emerged from nature untouched by lab manipulations, Fauci continues to protect himself and China and their relationship to the endangerment of America and the rest of the world, Breggin writes. Fauci holds himself out as the ultimate source of objective scientific information and science-based conclusions. In reality, he works with and empowers globalist pharmaceutical firms, globalist pharmaceutical firms, and globalist organizations such as WHO and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. These globalists gain power and influence as their policies and practices, including the shutdown, continue to worsen conditions throughout the world. The globalist technocratic agenda also shines through Fauci's call for a political agenda that protects the population from pathogens by limiting or eliminating aggressive and man-made interventions into nature. Fauci's paper published in the journal Cell in September 2020 reads in part, the COVID-19 pandemic is yet another reminder that in a human-dominated world in which our human activities represent aggressive, damaging, and unbalanced interactions with nature, we will increasingly provoke new disease emergences. We remain at risk for the foreseeable future. COVID-19 is among the most vivid wake-up call in over a century. It should force us to begin to think in earnest and collectively about living in more thoughtful and creative harmony with nature. Indeed, this language is straight out of the technocratic handbook, now rebranded as the Great Reset. As noted by Bregan, Fauci's utopian scheme, which overlaps with the Green New Deal, would permanently suppress and disrupt the activities and lives of the 7.8 billion people on Earth, and in the vain hope of reducing future pandemics. Thus, the American official most responsible for the creation of SARS-CoV-2 in a Chinese lab instead blames its origins on human interventions into the environment and nature, thereby completely exonerating himself while holding humanity responsible. Simultaneously, he's using the pretext of protecting us from viruses to impose a radical totalitarian agenda upon humanity. Indeed, the largest, most aggressive, and most dangerous human interventions into nature would include Fauci funding gain of function research in which viruses are taken out of nature and engineered into pathogens. Okay, so you got the idea. He gives a lot of data. COVID-19 is less lethal than the flu, and he gives some data here. The researchers found that when excluding those residing in nursing homes and other long-term care facilities, and I did this as well, the infection fatality rate for the average person is as follows. Overall, all ages, 0.26%. People younger than 40, 0.01%. People age 60 or older, 1.71%. That's the death rate. Okay, so he goes on to give more supporting data. According to the CDC estimates the infection fatality ratios. So he gives more data. According to the CDC, 0 to 19, and these are deaths, 0 to 19 years, 0.003%. That's 3 in 100,000. 20 to 49 years, 0.02%. 50 to 69 years, 0.5%. 70 years plus, 5%. As noted by Bregan, the risk to children and youth is exceedingly small. Yet Fauci and other public officials continue to act as if there is a grave risk of exposing children and young adults to SARS-CoV-2 when there is not, Bregan writes. So Bregan's 55-page report is well worth reading in its entirety. It contains far more details than I've been able to provide in this overview and is fully referenced. And then he talks about the dismissal of hydrochloroquine. And the summary at the end, Fauci, an extraordinarily destructive force. In Bregan's estimation, Fauci has been and continues to be an extraordinarily destructive force in the world. Not only did he play a role in China's ability to create SARS-CoV-2 and other potential biological weapons, he's also covering up his origin and initially tried to downplay the threat of the novel virus. To top it off, he became the go-to scientist and management czar for the very pandemic that he helped to create, enormously increasing his power and influence and the wealth of his institute and his global collaborators, including Bill Gates and the international pharmaceutical industry, Bregan writes, adding in conclusion, in his rise to power, Fauci has done a great deal of additional damage. For example, by suppressing the most effective, safest, and least expensive medication treatment, hydrochloroquine in varied combinations, while manipulating his clinical research to promote an ineffective, dangerous, and highly expensive drug, remdesivir. I'm sure I did not pronounce that right. Fauci has also been supporting inflated COVID-19 case counts and reported deaths from the CDC, then using the inflated estimates to justify oppressive public health measures that have no precedent and little or no scientific basis, but add to his influence and power to the wealth of his globalist associate. So let me read that again. Fauci has also been supporting inflated COVID-19 case counts and the reported deaths from the CDC, then using the inflated estimates to justify oppressive public health measures that have no precedent and little or no scientific basis, that add to his influence and power and to the wealth of his globalist associates. It's all about money, power and money. It is time to fire Fauci, to investigate this entire disaster, and to consider what needs to be done to protect the US and the world from future lab-generated pandemic disasters, whether accidental or international. So that's it. I'm going to post the link. And there is a video here as well. It's on YouTube, actually. And I'll post that link as well. Okay, so my eyes are burning. I'm in pain. And my eyes are actually tearing up. I'm going to do my blood pressure one more time. My ears are hurting. My jaws are hurting. And here is the blood pressure, 134/99, which reflects a lot of pain. So keep in mind what's being done to me is meant for you. In the technocratic world, this is going to be a norm. This level of pain and this level of surveillance and this level of torture is going to be the norm. So 99, and I flatline there, look at that. I'm flatlining here. So what's the PI number? 1.5. The pressure is high. The PI is extremely low. So why is my hand so cold? It's because the pressure that's being exerted by these signals are penetrating my body, one of the causes, and are constricting my blood vessels, the arteries and the veins. So it's not reaching the extremities. And that's my blinds there. The heat just went on. Okay, so the PI is 1.5. So when I shield for about half an hour, that PI number goes up, which I'm going to do right now because I'm in a lot of pain. Talk to you another time.